What's the most unhealthy thing that society encourages us to do? Work when we're sick. While many people do have sick days that they can use, they're actively encouraged not to use them. Some even get fired for it, and many do go to work sick. Work in food service, where it's technically illegal to work when sick, but if you dare try and follow that rule, you'll be lucky if you have a job. Yup, which is absolutely disgusting in a couple of ways. Not getting enough sleep or rest. People are encouraged to do so much in life, work, play, socialize, etc., that most don't get the appropriate amount of rest needed to function properly and maintain good health. Also, not getting enough sleep is a source of pride for many people, and a successful person only needing 3 to 4 hours of sleep is glamorized. I've done the 3 to 4 hours of sleep thing before. It's like living a nightmare. I was always tired, could barely keep my eyes open, and kept randomly falling asleep. It's also extremely dangerous to drive when you're exhausted. That working an 8 to 5 job is really necessary. It's not true for all jobs, but some jobs have huge amounts of downtime and the employees end up just trying to look busy for large parts of the day. It's what I'm doing right now. It's what I do every goddamn day. If I can finish a job in 2 hours, why do I have to just sit here for another 7? You know I'm not doing anything. Why draw out the torture? As an Irishman, the most obvious answer to this is drinking. The social pressure to go on the gargle week in, week out is unbelievable. Australian here. I drink sometimes, but it amazes me how much people expect others to drink. I've been at social events where, upon arrival, people noticed there was alcohol available and went for it. When they saw me not drinking, they asked me why I'm not already drinking. I explain that I don't feel like it at the moment, so they tell me that they have money to buy me a drink if I don't have enough. I can't tell them that I have money, but I don't want to drink that moment enough times to make them understand. They just stare at me like, but alcohol is available. You have to drink. I've worked for a company where free alcohol flowed almost constantly. Drinks on Friday afternoons. Every single event had alcohol. You'd go for team drinks. Good if you like to get absolutely smashed. Not good when you're not a big drinker. There was an unbelievable amount of pressure to drink and party at any and every opportunity. Prioritizing work over well-being. This is something that I've been working hard on for the past several months. When I first joined the workforce about 1.5 years ago, I thought that my job was supposed to be my biggest life definer. I would work and figured my identity was what I did for work. However, programming and IT were never my passions, nor are they today. I have 2 jobs now and they pay the bills and more, but I found that my passions and ambitions will never be in my job or career, but in my hobbies. My job is just a way to sustain a lifestyle that allows me to enjoy my hobbies. I've had to learn this the hard way. I'm a software engineer. Coding was my passion until I entered the workforce. Now the last thing I want to do when I leave work is touch a computer. The vast majority of my hobbies do not involve computers at all, and the 2 that do tend to get neglected for periods of time simply because I can't bring myself to look at a computer when I get home sometimes. What I've realized is that for me to be healthy, I need to go to work hard for my 8 hours, and I do enjoy and feel accomplishment with that work, but then go home and do something else. I will never prioritize work above my life again. Tolerate all opinions to the point where we don't critically appraise anything and give everything equal weight. According to a British politician, we've had enough of experts. This is what's wrong with the planet. Basically, indiscriminately respect beliefs and opinions. I indiscriminately respect your right to an opinion, but if your opinion is stupid for all sorts of legitimate objective reasons, then you should be told it's stupid, not coddled or protected from criticism. This is basically how we got Trump. I hate this line of thinking. Trump got the same damn number of votes as McCain did 8 years ago. Clinton just got 10 million less than Obama did because our turnout sucked. The loss was thoroughly preventable, but she didn't get the same support. Consumerism. Having to own the right to stuff to have worth. I have family who are like this. Why are you buying brand name shoes for young kids who will outgrow them in a month? Why do you need to go shopping or eat out every day? Parents tell their children to eat everything off their plates even when they've had enough. This leads to kids developing habits that make them ignore the feeling of being full. Many take this habit to their deathbeds. As adults, they just keep overeating. One of many leading causes of obesity. The underlying reason is good though. to either teach kids that they shouldn't have the privilege to waste food or force them into good nutritional habits, like forcing them to finish vegetables. Parents just need to be more mindful about portion control. I concede that forcing kids to eat vegetables might not be conducive in the long term. Thanks for all the information. But for everyone who can't handle seeing the word privileged without frothing at the bit and thinks that wasting food isn't a concern, well, let's just say that I disagree. Yeah, how is this not obvious? It's not like you've dumped enough food for a 20-year-old male on your 6-year-old's plate, right? Only give him the correct portion with healthy foods included, and then, in that case, having him finish his food is fine, and instills the idea that he cannot simply eat the more appetizing options, but must also eat all the vegetables and fruits. An 8-hour workday, when studies have shown we're really only productive for about 6, we should have more time to actually live life. I spend an inordinate amount of time at the office considering all the stuff I could be doing at home. Then, when you finally get home, there's only 1 to 3 hours that I can commit to housework or home improvement. It's incredibly frustrating because I have spare time, but that's time I have to look busy at work. Eat foods with lots of sugar. We don't really notice it, but most food is loaded with sugar, even if it doesn't need to be because sugar is cheap when compared to other natural products and flavorings. It also adds a lot of weight to the product, so the total weight stays the same while profit increases. Most companies don't care about this anyway, because people like sugary sweet stuff and will probably still buy it if they don't look closely at the sugar content and think carefully. Obviously, this excessive consumption is denounced to us, so a lot of people end up obese or diabetic. I've lived abroad for 5 years and came back to the USA over the break to visit family. Had turkey sandwiches at my sister's where we used some oat nut bread or something that sounded similarly healthy. The bread was sweet. It wasn't supposed to be fruit bread or anything, they just added it for whatever reason, and I couldn't even finish the sandwich. I mean, damn, I can't imagine her oat, but the bread was more healthy than my go-to white bread made only with flour, yeast, and salt, if you dump all that sugar in it. Fellow American here, this is honestly such a huge thing that I wish more people realized. There is so much sugar in the bread, especially the whole grain stuff, and people just don't realize it. I wish there were more proper bakeries for people to buy actual bread from. Anti-intellectualism. There seems to be a trend where ignoring expert opinions is cool. Doctors say to vaccinate my children, but Facebook says otherwise. Doctors are whack, definitely going to side with this Facebook article with 159 shares. Hold in our farts. Crap can lead to gastrointestinal problems. I learned to fart silently. Best to do it somewhere crowded and ignore it. Nobody will know who to blame. Do you see that car that you definitely can't afford on your income? You should definitely get it. I've been told I should just take that vacation because what are credit cards for? I'll answer that credit cards are for paying off every month while milking the company for points. In some ways, it encourages the idea that what you're missing can always be found through consumption of media or buying stuff. I buy media and consume stuff. Am I safe? Only if you physically eat the media, then yes. Also, I realized I misread the question. Sharing everything we do publicly on social media. What amazes me is that so many people willingly reveal their daily itinerary, political opinions, sexual orientation, and God knows what else on social media. If government or police came knocking on our door demanding the same information that we give so freely, we would ask if they had a search warrant. The government doesn't actually have to spy on most of us because we broadcast every part of our lives on our own accord. Worship celebrities. Take the opinions of celebrities seriously, just because they're celebrities. No, that celebrity knows jack crap about economics. Desk jobs. Sedentary lifestyle. Not directly, but we aim more and more towards sitting jobs, engineers, etc., and it's impacting us in ways that we can't even think. It's only bad if you have no other activity in your life. Yes, it's much easier to stay fit and healthy if you're constantly moving around, but having a desk job does not necessarily lead to an unhealthy lifestyle. It just enables one if you're not motivated to do anything else. Yes, I'm looking at you, Bob. You work on the second floor. Take the stairs sometimes. Unfortunately, I can't find it, but I know I read a small study over the summer that said this isn't necessarily true. The point it made, though, was that outside of sleeping, you really shouldn't just sit and do nothing for 8 consecutive hours. It's bad for circulation and the heart, mostly. I think they said getting up every 30 minutes-ish and taking a quick little 3 to 5 minute walk helps, though. Driving everywhere. The city I live in is not very pedestrian friendly, and people drive everywhere, even down the block, because there are no sidewalks. I live in a major US city with good walkability and public transit. I have a car, but I can get anywhere with the other two. I'm on the train as I type this. A lot of my friends live in the suburbs and drive everywhere. They are amazed at how often I walk, even in inclement weather. It's a little less than a mile to and from the train. I love it, and I find it peaceful to just throw on some headphones and walk. Be romantic in ways that are actually creepy and borderline repulsive. For instance, the movie trope of a guy basically forcing a kiss on a woman who has pretty much told him she can't stand him, or never shown the slightest bit of interest, but this somehow pays off and wins her over. Watching old movies is hilarious for this reason. AMC constantly has a movie on where the lead female finds the lead male repulsive, but in the end, he grabs her and kisses her and they're in love. It's like the lesson they were teaching was, even women who hate you will eventually fall for you if you force yourself upon them. It's certainly not as bad as, say, sweatshops, but the American labor system encourages you to settle for an unchallenging position you're overqualified for, dissuades you from taking time off, and encourages a degree of competition with your colleagues that chips away at your respect for humanity. It almost seems purposefully constructed to restrain personal advancement. I am a strategy consultant who advises public companies. I've worked with chief HR officers on org redesigns, layoffs, etc. Can confirm that some HR organizations and other C-level folk deliberately construct cultures and reward systems and treat employees in a way that make them deliberately neurotic, insecure, or feel the need to overwork themselves. It's always disgusted me. The greatest justice I ever saw was when one of the nastiest HR leads I've ever worked with got sacked out of the blue by the CEO whom this person thought was their best friend. Snakes eat snakes. But yeah, don't ever believe HR is your friend. To be fair, I have worked with some very humane, very good HR people too, so they're not all monsters. Always thought human resources was a creepy dystopian phrase. For men, bottle up our feelings. Men are known to be fearless and tough in the eyes of society, but we're just as fragile as anyone else deep within our hearts, which can drive us suicidal when it reaches critical points. I was always told I was sensitive when I was a kid, and even made fun of because of it. My stepmother was even overheard saying I would turn out gay while her and my father were watching old vacation videos because of it. I was a late bloomer for confidence, go figure, and a virgin till I was 23. But I found an amazing woman to be my wife, and all is well now. She says I'm just enough woman for her and she's just enough man for me. To me, it seems like much of society puts an emphasis and importance on getting married or starting a family, either during college years or shortly afterwards, which I see as a bit of a ball and chain from being able to forward yourself in any career that you may be looking at. Chase after the guy or girl if they've said no once or multiple times. They're just playing hard to get. Go after them. Be romantic. Nah, son, that will earn you a one-way ticket to Crazy Town. Just because you bought them expensive flowers or asked them to dinner doesn't mean that you're entitled to frick them. Nor does it mean that they have to give something in return aside from sex. Exactly. These people act like being nice is a rare thing when you should just be nice in general. No one owes you love no matter how well you treat them. Most? Support the current work culture. You know, how you should be an utter toady to your management and accept whatever abusive policy they put out in the abject hopes that you'll be promoted to a better place or even be management yourself? Crap all over millennials. They're better with money, they know what makes them happy, and they adapt to the ever-changing job/education market. The real problem is it's difficult to market to the majority. Companies with crappy, outdated products, we're looking at you, fabric softener, can't market to them and then blame them for financial losses. Baby boomers, because these kids value happiness. Is that the whole point? As an Xer in between, I have more respect for the millennial than the boomer. Boomers were the most selfish generation their whole lives. They got away with it because of their numbers. Pretty much, my parents were the ultimate boomers, extremely selfish and entitled. I have a boomer aunt who never had children because they were messy and inconvenient and never did anything to establish a relationship with me. I honestly thought she was dead. A few years ago, she expected me to drop my life and rush to the other side of the country to take care of her because she broke her hip. She was truly baffled when I flat out refused. She hadn't acknowledged my existence for 35 years. I'm not giving up my family for some old person who just wants an unpaid maid. The idea that you have to do something with your life. Not everyone needs to be a doctor or a lawyer. Working a blue-collar job and having hobbies is doing something. I understand striving for longevity and a job, but not everyone has to get a degree and end up in a white-collar career. Blue-collar jobs are necessary. My husband and I farm. We both have college degrees. I remember in high school when teachers would tell some kids that they were too smart to be farmers or mechanics or welders. We need to get past this. Drink juice. It's loaded with sugar. Stay in our bubble. Watch the news, TV, eat processed foods, smoke cigs, drink alcohol, overindulge in shopping, etc. Useless stuff, basically. Why is watching the news useless? Shouldn't we all be keeping up with the world around us? There's a documentary on Netflix called Minimalism. It's quite interesting how terrible our culture has become with buying many things that we don't need. Although I probably couldn't live a minimalism lifestyle, as I like all my things. Watching news and getting informed isn't a bad thing on paper. Unfortunately, most news sources aren't just giving you the news, they're subtly trying to tell you how to feel about the news, instead of drawing your own conclusions. Health at every size. I'm fine with admitting that if you're overweight, you're not healthy, as long as that doesn't equate to we should be able to tell fat people that they're trash. Just tough it out. You're not weak, you're a stronger person than this. About clinical depression or anxiety disorder, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. My family doesn't believe in mental illness. Growing up was rough, and the vices I used to cope left its claw marks. I think this generation is much more educated on this issue, and public awareness is rising. Find your one true love. Get married. Have children. If you don't do these 3 things, you're a failure. Monogamy's not for everyone. Marriage isn't for everyone. Children aren't for everyone. And the worst part is, there's a lot of pressure that if one step of the master plan isn't working, you need to push yourself to the next step, because surely that will fix things. Your relationship isn't working? Get married. Your marriage is falling apart? Better have a kid. Debt. It is at the core of many problems that we face today. Debt causes stress, which has poor effects on health and decision-making. It causes poverty, which in turn leads to poor health. Financial issues are the #1 cause of divorce. It causes people to take riskier positions in life, not just financially, but in other areas as well. It inhibits people from realizing their full potential. It causes depression, encouraging students to take on debt for college and giving students easy access to it not only preys on students who are trying to do what they feel is right, but it also stimulates the increases in college tuition. By flooding the supply of funds with debt, colleges can charge more. Debt is realized into a national problem where everybody feels the effects. If people were encouraged to live the lifestyle that they can afford instead of never being satisfied, I feel like this world would be a much better place. Be the bigger person. In reality, a lot of the time people need to be told about themselves and the crappy thing that they are doing. Not think critically or for ourselves. Today is a very interesting time in the world. Fake news is a problem, but that's been around for ages. People need to learn how to think, not what to think. If you don't know that an article is a fake research, put in the effort. This censoring of fake news is bad because people will need to think less. We're being trained in dissatisfaction. Almost everything in the media, from commercials to politics, is trying to convince us we just happen to have the exact problem they are selling the solution for. Ain't that a coincidence? It's almost as if we invented that problem specifically for you. Your teeth are brown, so get this toothpaste. Your neighbor cooks with more cardamom than your nana, so vote for me. Your Wi-Fi gives you cancer, so buy this chakra stone. You're too lazy to work out, so buy this sports drink full of electrolytes, so that you can at least feel as if you went to the gym. Meanwhile, actual problems, the ones you can't solve by liking stuff on Facebook, go largely unaddressed. At least until we find some money to be made by fighting female genital mutilation, comforting the dying, or actually teaching children instead of coaching them to not fail standardized tests. Until then, it's much more important to give us phones and social media accounts to spoon-feed us bespoke, unfulfilled dreams. Don't forget to sign in to enable the Buy Now option. And all almost exclusively for money, as if dying rich is so great. Coffee. You're not a real adult unless you have a crippling caffeine addiction that you spend $2 a day on and get physical side effects from if you try to break. Teaching boys or men to never cry. Crying is great, and keeping it all inside can be detrimental to your mental and physical health. There seems to be this push for body positivity, in which it pushes people to be comfortable in their own skin. I am not one for body shaming, but it has gotten to the point where people who are overweight and even morbidly obese are told that they don't have any flaws and there are no health risks of being overweight. It's one thing to accept some of your flaws and know that you may never have a flat tummy, but not loving your body enough to take care of it is upsetting. Hey, you see that really attractive model over there? You should do everything you possibly can to look like him or her. Eating the kind of crap people eat. Seriously, people, eat a vegetable. Go to college. A lot of people aren't college material. They don't need to go, let alone get saddled with crippling debt. Even if they graduate, a lot of them get degrees that won't pay for themselves. Learning is good, but if that's what it's all about, there are libraries and free online courses. Quit sending clueless 18-year-olds to high school part 2 to get cement shoes while they have no idea what they're signing up for or what they want to do. For my age group, I'm 22. I'd have to be going out every chance you get, getting super wasted, and spending tons of money to do so. And if you don't want to, your friends don't seem interested in keeping your friendship. Guess who has no friends? Me. For some reason, when a little boy is bullying or irritating a little girl, we tell them it's because the boy likes the girl. In reality, it's giving the girl a new thought pattern of, oh, he's abusing me. It must be because he really likes me, deep down, causing them to act way different when it comes to toxic relationships with the opposite sex. Eating meat, dairy, and ounces of sugar every day. Opiates, alcohol, and mild amphetamines, Ritalin, Adderall. Valuing money above relationships, having an us versus them team mentality, and being ashamed of living with your parents. I'd say top 2. Uphold gender norms, that men should repress their feelings and not talk about them, etc. Consumerism, that you should just go buy a new one rather than try to fix the broken thing, or that you should buy a giant house even if you have no real practical use for it, and that it's fair that wealth is concentrated rather than more evenly shared. Facebook. We are not meant to live our lives in fishbowls. I recently permanently deleted mine and it has felt like a giant weight off my back. No more keeping up with the Joneses. I'm sure there's some sort of correlation between that and the recent spikes in depression. To live just to work. A vast majority of people hate their jobs but perpetuate this mentality because they think, well, I'm miserable, so everyone else should be too. Of course, this isn't to say that everyone should just stop working, but everything is in moderation. There are very few jobs that actually require being there 24/7. It wouldn't really be that big of a deal if most of our society shut its work doors down at 4 p.m. and people tended to their homes and personal lives the rest of the day. Think of a 6-hour workday. People would be so much less stressed out. 2 3-hour segments with a break in between to go get groceries, lunch, etc. Having kids without comprehending the extent of the responsibilities involved. Yeah, let's just marry off these clueless men and women struggling with career anxiety, depression, and existential crises. When they have kids, they will know what true responsibilities are. What could go wrong? Consuming outrageous amounts of sugar. Fancy a Coke? That's a third of your daily recommended amount. Fancy a sandwich? Those 2 slices of white bread will see you for 5 grams of sugar, or 1/5 of a woman's daily recommended amount. Ketchup? Pretty sugary. Canned soup? Sugary. Baked beans? Sugar. Orange juice? Yep. It would honestly be easier to list off items that aren't overloaded with sugar than those that are. It's extremely hard to throw together a casual meal with basic things from a supermarket that you'd naturally assume are relatively healthy, that aren't in fact more sugary than you'd expect them to be. Even tomato sauce isn't safe. Growing up, adults are called childish for playing and having fun, and then they end up sitting on the couch watching TV for the rest of their lives. If every adult played for an hour a day, obesity would be much less of a problem. I'm 31. Play and we'll get looks. If my kids are out riding their bikes, I bring my BMX bike along. Try to hop bushes, bar spins, crash, get up, repeat. They also want to try and do this as they get older/stronger. Yet I am seen as a fool. That for a certain amount of time you have to be held down and demeaned and talked down to because of some bureaucratic crappy organization. That young people just have to put up with it until they are older. No, you don't. Whoever you work for shouldn't push and pull you around just for the sake of it. It's not right. Respect the people that work for you. Very binary thinking. You're either for something or against it. Democrat or Republican. Religious or not. Why can't I be in the middle of something? There are some things I'm conservative about and some things I'm liberal about. All this does is put people against each other. George Washington warned us of this. US society expects people to place their jobs above all else in many places. Regardless of occupation and how well the company treats you, mine treats me well, I get no questions asked sick days, lots of vacation, etc. You have to work hard and oftentimes with a lot of stress. This might be true in lots of countries, but having been in the workforce for 2 years now and seeing how it transforms people, it's definitely not healthy. To stick it out and not be a quitter. There is something wrong here. If a relationship is a poison, quit the relationship. If your workplace is toxic, go find another job. It may be unhealthy to just stick it out. Thanks for watching until the end. We'd love to hear your answers to this topic down in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video and then stop by the channel, subscribe, and check out another video.